Hey there, as an entrepreneur, I'm sure your sights are set on growing your business and doing it quickly, right? So today we're going to talk a little bit about what happens when you're growing your business so fast that there are some pitfalls that you encounter that actually will slow you down or maybe even derail you from your progress. I've been really enjoying doing these Facebook Lives. I hope you're enjoying them too. And I'd love to tackle more of the questions that are up for you. And this is one of the questions that I've gotten asked a lot, especially when I'm speaking at events from the other speakers, because obviously the speakers are often the experts who are sharing their information with other people. So one of the questions I get asked a lot, especially when I'm talking about overwhelm or how to scale your business and grow your results, is, Melanie, how can I do this without encountering this implosion that happens? So a while back, I was working with a partnership out of Canada, and their business had been tripling over and over and over again. They'd been doing six-figure revenues within the first year of business, which for a lot of people is outstanding results. But the downside was they didn't have a lot of time off. They were dealing with some pretty frustrating overwhelm. They hadn't taken a vacation in I don't know how long, and some things were starting to fall into the cracks. And I started to notice that a lot of people who are growing quickly encounter similar issues. Their focus is on the prize, getting more money, getting more sales, getting more clients, maybe getting after some big goals. But what happens is that there's some things in the business that get neglected, and then they end up feeling really stressed, overwhelmed, and maybe even losing the business growth that they'd worked so hard to create. So we'll tackle three of the big ways that I've coached a lot of people around, and personally had to look at inside myself when my business was growing exponentially, that will help you when you're in this situation where your business is growing so quickly. So first of all, you have to recognize what stage of business you're in. Because the first stage of business is what we call it's kind of like the infancy stage, right? Like you're figuring out, how do I make money with this offering? What's the best way to market to my ideal clients? You're trying to figure out, maybe, do I need some help? And, really figuring out what your genius is and how to stay in your genius. So there's some core challenges in that first stage, but we're not going to tackle them today because we're really talking about stage two. And we might as well just call stage two the chaotic growth stage. So if you've done your job right in stage one, you're getting so much money in the door. Your clients are off the hook. You're growing leaps and bounds. But it's growing so fast that maybe you realize you're not able to control the growth, and there's a lot of things that are coming up that you didn't know you would have to tackle when your business started to grow quickly. And then stage three, by the way, is what we call a maintenance stage. It's like everything's going great, you've learned how to optimize, and you're just scaling and continuing to replicate what works well. And then you may end up going through all the stages again, because a lot of entrepreneurs get bored in stage three and want to start over. So just know that's stage three. So let's talk about stage two. You're in the process of growth so quickly that things are a little chaotic. And the three things that typically you have to be aware of that can happen, and almost always do happen unless you're really methodical about that growth, is this. You'll have so many opportunities that you won't be able to manage them properly, and a lot of balls will start dropping, and it'll feel painful, particularly if you're someone who you really care what people think, and you're doing the best you can to maintain and nurture relationships because you feel like you're letting people down. Now, this goes across all different compartments in the business, from the marketing side, where you're probably getting some great opportunities and some great leads, but you just can't keep up with it all. I can't tell you how many people that during certain periods of their business development, I've tried to promote them or do business with them, and they're just moving at the speed of light, and they're not really able to pay attention and get grounded in the opportunities that are showing up. So it's just a pain to do business with them. A lot of people won't come back when they're having that experience. So one of the cures for that is you need to have an evaluation process for opportunities, and only say yes to the opportunities that really truly are aligned with the growth that you want to create for your business. And or it may be time to get someone on your team to help evaluate and manage those opportunities and do the parts that are more routine and can be systemized and structured and release you to do the things that only you can do. So that's one of the big pitfalls. I'm curious, if you're listening in live right now, have you recognized that one yourself? You're growing so fast, you get so many opportunities. You don't want to say no to anything, but maybe you feel like it's so off the rails that you can't keep the train on the track very well. So that's a pretty common one, and happy to answer any questions that you have about it if you want to post them here on the stream as you're listening in. So let's talk about the second thing that happens. And this one, a lot of people don't realize is they forget to upgrade the strategies they're using to grow and evolve their business. And they keep using the strategies that got them their first level of success, that really got them beyond their first stage of growth. And that is they're still using creativity to try to grow. Now, don't get me wrong. Every entrepreneur on this planet, every business owner has to maintain creativity. That's what makes us unique. That's what allows innovation. And of course, Bill Gates and Apple would tell you creativity is their lifeblood. But a strength overused becomes your greatest weakness. And if you keep creating at the expense of making what you have profitable, in other words, you fail to optimize the things you've worked so hard to create, then you're actually a creativity addict. And that addiction, that energy, continuing to channel so much into that creative process without ever optimizing anything, will end up being your profit downfall. And a lot of business owners are literally racing from one creation to the next creation to the next creation to the next creation. They're always launching things. They're always making new things happen. And yes, that energy feels great, but when you're growing quickly, you actually need to learn to optimize things so that you ensure that you're penetrating your market well, and that you're actually ensuring that unit of offering or that service or whatever it is making money instead of just taking time and energy to manage and keep it running out there. This has been a big one, and I've actually worked with a couple of different business owners over the years where they just kept creating new stuff in order to make more money instead of realizing they needed to make what they had perform better. And it was more profitable, less costly, and less energetically draining and time consuming to take something that they knew was a good fit in the marketplace and make it perform better. So I know that may not sound as sexy as creating new stuff, but hey, wouldn't you like to be more profitable with the things that you've already worked so hard to create? It just requires shifting gears in your head, and that's one of the pitfalls of growing quickly is you forget there's a point in which growing doesn't mean making more stuff. It means making what you have work better. And that's a big aha moment for a lot of people. So what's the third pitfall? Well, I could probably come up with a list of 20, and I do tackle a lot of them. I have a report, a manifesto on my website. You can go grab it if you want at successconnections.com. And I cover 15 of the profit boosting opportunities that we all have. And one of the things that we have to look at in order to create more profit is to look at what is breaking down in our approach to growth. And one of the big things that breaks down quickly is us, right? Like we become the bottleneck, and we're holding on to way too many things in our business and not allowing other people to step in and release us from that activity that they could do better, faster, or cheaper than you can, and allow us to get reconnected and focus back in on our genius. And we were talking about that last week on the Facebook Live. Now, why is this a pitfall of fast growth? Because when you're in fast traction and you're moving at the speed of light, like imagine yourself on a treadmill going at like a pretty fast pace. You don't think about how to get off well, maybe you do. Maybe you are thinking about how to get off the treadmill, right? But no, you're kind of in motion and you're just doing everything you can to keep up with the pace. Well, what we need to do is take a step back and say, am I doing what's going to help me scale my impact, exponentially grow my income, and really do what I wanted to do in the first place and serve and be in the just pure passion of my original vision? Or am I staying stuck in this spot because I'm just moving too fast to slow down and figure out what's next? And by the way, if you aren't working with a business coach, this is a really important piece to get a coach and work on, because it's in our blind spot, right? We've got blinders on because we're moving so fast. All we can see is what's right in front of us. And what I want for you is the same thing I've been able to help many of my clients do, is be able to grow exponentially, because you're looking at how do I get out of the way and get help, outsource or delegate certain roles and activities that someone else can do better, faster, or cheaper than you, and truly keep myself grounded in these are the things that when I do them, it propels the business forward rather than just crawling slowly down the path. So those are three of the big pitfalls. I'm curious, if you're growing at the speed of light, have you noticed one of those three things happening? And maybe you're not growing as quickly as you'd like in the revenue department, but you're super overwhelmed and have way too much on your plate with the business you have. These are a lot of signs that the strategies you're using aren't the best ones to get you where you want to go. And I'd highly recommend that we talk or you get a coach and help you really look at your strategies for growth. Now, I mentioned early on I was working with a partnership out of Canada a few years ago around their implosion, right? Like they were growing so fast and six figures were easy to create. The money wasn't the problem. But keeping the business running was not as easy as they thought it would be. We tackled those three things I just covered. One, we looked at, oh my gosh, what was it? All right, remind me, if you've been listening the whole way, what was number one, number two, and number three? This is the quiz for you. So let's reverse engineer it. Three was, are you the bottleneck and in your way? What I started to say was that this is actually the most important thing that anybody does, is really look at that. And this is what I did with the partners. We had to start looking at where they were the bottleneck because they were holding on to too much and they didn't have time to do it well. And sometimes they didn't have time to do it at all. And so their customers were starting to complain. They were feeling like they were investing big money, but weren't getting the communication and the information they needed in a timely way. So we hired someone to manage the customer lifecycle side. And, or I should say they did, because we figured out that was the best place to start. So you have to figure out what's the best place for you to start. It could be you just needed an admin type to help with emails and phone calls. It may be that you need someone to help you with customer support. Maybe you need someone to help you with the writing and taking off some of the marketing pieces and kind of learning to emulate your voice and get some of the pieces that you know will help you attract more clients, but you never seem to have the time to do it. We all have that unique linchpin. When we let it go, it allows us to grow. So we'll recap. What are the pitfalls? Number one, you're saying yes to too many opportunities. Yay, I remembered what it was. You can tell I'm channeling this and just kind of in the moment. So number one was too many opportunities. Number two was using the wrong strategies to grow, right? Like you're still using the things that got you where you were. And the big one is overusing creativity and not switching gears to optimizing what you've already worked so hard to create and making sure it's profitable. And number three, recognizing that you may very well become the bottleneck to the level of success you want because you're not letting go fast enough. You're holding on to decision making, you're holding on to roles and activities, and you just simply can't get it all done if you want to scale and really exponentially grow. So I mentioned earlier that I've got a resource. I'd love to share it with you. It's on my website at successconnections.com, and you can find it on the top right side as a manifesto that will walk you through 15 very uncommon strategies that allow you to create more profit instead of just more work for yourself. And you'll find there's maybe some aha moments that will allow you to get back to doing what you do best so that your business can take off again. I hope you enjoy it. And I'll be back again next Thursday with another great tidbit on how to scale your impact and your income without adding more work hours. I'm Melanie Benson-Strick. I'll see you next week.